our social media handles, UTV Ghana, everywhere. Join the agenda to get 1 million followers by December. And as we do most times when we sit, we like to give big shouts to those of you who are celebrating different things across your lifetime. Today is the turn of Madam Victoria Ajwa Ohenewa at Jowulu. You are 78 years old today. All your children want us to wish you a very, very happy birthday. A belated happy birthday also to you, Madam Lucy Abba Andrews at Malambbawe. Congratulations to you as you marked another birthday yesterday. We are looking at ICT and its contribution to all aspects of our lives, particularly when it comes to regulating the sector to safeguard the proper use of the technology at a time when social media is flooded with all manner of things, exposing the youth especially to so many dangers. We are told that there is the need for government to be the key driver in pushing for this change. This morning, the Director General of the National Information Technology Agency, NITA, Mr. Richard Ochre Fosu, has joined me in the studio to share some thought on the ICT regulations in the country. Mr. Ochre Fosu, thank you for making the time
and
for being a part of this conversation. How far have we come? And I bet you will say very far on this journey of ICT. We've come a long way from when only a few people even knew what a computer was to now migrating from the bulky, systems that we used to know to very, very small pieces of gadgets and equipment that now do marvelous things. Has it worked in our benefit, do you think?
I think so. Good morning, and thank you for having me. I think it has. Technology is here to stay, and I think Ghana has not been left out. We are taking advantage of it. Our citizenry use these smartphones for entertainment and also education. So I think by and large it has worked.
It has worked, and in many ways it has been the game changer and in different spheres of life. You mentioned entertainment and education, but also what ICT has done for health, agriculture, and other things can also not be overemphasized. But when we talk ICT, the fixation is on the internet and the information that we are exposed to on the regular. Suggestions are that we may be in an information overload era. Is that the case? How are we managing that?
Well, I mean, I think the information is there, but I think we need to, as users, we need to discern and be able to know what we need, what we don't need. I live by a very simple principle. If I don't need it, if you send me an email and I look at some phishing techniques and a few things, if I don't need it, I don't open it. Sometimes it's our curiosity that gets us into these situations. If you are not expecting anybody to call you to say you want something, they call you and you say, "Oh, I've won." So, so that whole thing, we have to take control as individuals as well of our data and everything else around that.
Curiosity killed the cat.
That's what they say.
People have to know something before they are able to protect themselves against it or to expose themselves to it if it's an opportunity. So where do organizations like NITA come in this conversation? Okay.
So, I mean, NITA was established in 2008 as the ICT regulator. And in Ghana, we are a country of laws, so we have an act that brought us into being, Act 771. And we also have a second act, Act 772, Electronic Transaction Act. So these were the acts that actually underpin our business. Cast your mind back to 2008. Fiber optic was new. Data centers were popping up. So when all these things were happening in other jurisdictions, we also decided to do them. And they actually brought it to NITA because we were established to do everything ICT. So we focused a lot more on operations and actually forgot the regulating part of the business. So that is why, we are now doing this stakeholder engagement that we are about to do on the 5th through 7th to say anybody who is interested in ICT, who loves ICT, come. Let's hear your voice, because we are now doing the secondary legislation, the LI. which will give effect to the primary legislation, which is the Act. So that is where we are. But we've been around, we've been educating. Ghana is doing a lot, and the Ministry of Communication and its agencies are doing a lot in terms of advising people and educating people. The Kofi Annan Center is there. They run regular courses for both public sector and private sector. Our own minister champions girls in ICT, right? She goes all around the country training, young girls in how to code, and then she brings them to Accra for them to experience the workspace, meet professionals, women professionals working, so that they can emulate. Data Protection Authority Commission is also doing stuff. Cybersecurity Authority has the Cybersecurity Month in October, where they create awareness, particularly in cyber hygiene, cyberbullying, in the areas of the cyberspace. So I think, by and large, we are doing things and we are educating. Education, as I say to young people when I counsel them now, is not up to the school or your parent. You must also take, or your employer, you must also take your own education into your hands, so that you can also investigate and see where trends are going, so that you can position yourself. But me, that's what I think.
I mean, we had call centers, and then they became internet cafes.
Yes.
And then we've moved on. Now we have, everyone almost has something in their hand that connects with them super fast.
Yes.
So we know what happens around the globe. Social media has changed so much of our use and abuse of communication technology techniques even. And so you ask yourself, do you monitor? Are you one of the regulators that has the mandate to see what is happening on social media and take steps to remove the harm that is on there, so that people can benefit from the good?
Okay. It's a very important question, and thank you for that question. I would like to put it on the table today that regulating or regulations is now a collaborative exercise. We are in an era of collaborative regulations. So when you talk about taking the harms away from all these things, we work with Cybersecurity Authority, who actually has the mandate, right, to look at the cyberspace. We work with data protection. We work with the security apparatus. We work with the intelligence apparatus. So there's a joint cybersecurity committee that works together. Data protection is there. NCA is there. We all come together, and when we see something, we all work together to deal with it. So I think Ghanaians should rest assured that we monitor and we take things out. So if you go to the Cybersecurity Authority's website, there's a help desk, there's a number. If you've gotten into trouble, cyberbullying, your child is being bullied, whatever, just call them.
Should people just limit their time on social media then, if it's so harmful to some?
For me, I don't think so. I think we as individuals, we must be discerning and know that, look, the thing is there, but it's not everything that is there is good for you, right? So you must actually focus on what is good for you and focus on that. I wish our youth who have these smartphones will spend their time going on some of these free education sites, right, and learn, right, and learn, as opposed to what's the one that they do a lot of videos? I forgot.
A number of video.
They're always TikTok and all.
Snapchat.
For me, I'm not saying that we shouldn't do that, but limit that. But rather focus your attention.
So individual limiting, and not maybe a legislative limitation imposed on the use of social media.
We cannot regulate that.
Are you thinking AI in all this? Because even regular social media has brought or presented some challenges. Now that there's artificial intelligence, is it changing the terrain a little bit, or are we still pretty much where we are with social media?
No, I think it will definitely change. Just like any emerging technologies, there will be a change that it will bring. Again, AI can be used for good and it can be used for bad. But underpinning everything with AI is the data. When you talk about machine learning, the machine, when you play computer games and you're playing against the machine, that machine has studied the game over and over and over and knows the tricks of that game. So when you as a human being is playing with the game, the machine has learned and is able to play that game with you. When we talk about generative AI, it is the data that we feed it, right? That makes sense. So I would advise businesses, anyone who is dealing with AI, that not to necessarily depend on the algorithm that has already been created, right? Because it is not your data that is being used to produce the output that you require. Back in the days when AI started, they didn't recognize blackface because they were dealing with the Caucasian population. There are biases involved in AI and all that. These things are being relearned, right? Because now it's a global market. You are not bringing technology just to serve the Caucasian market. Black people are also quite a big constituent. So now all these things are being learned. So it's the data that makes the important ingredient in AI.
Is it a threat, do you think? Because we are told, we hear stories, and we are monitoring events in other countries who are having actually serious conversations about AI when it comes to even copyright and other issues. What are the implications on our security? What are the implications for us generally?
Yeah, so the EU has just brought out an AI regulations. We also are looking at that regulation. We are also looking at sandboxing AI and look at use cases and advise government in the use of AI. The implications are, people talk about threats to jobs and all that. I don't know whether you remember the days when computer met telephony, where press 1, press 2, there was no human interaction. It's called IVR, interactive voice response. So technology, is fast changing. So AI is the next thing. And for me, my advice to everybody is let's embrace it and let's use it positively, because you can also use AI negatively. My fear is even when AI meets IoT, Internet of Things, right? So let me create a scenario for you. You're on an autonomous car and the road should go left, but someone has hacked into the car and sent you to the right turn, and that right turn would see you driving straight into a sea or something like that, or fall off a cliff. That is dangerous. So that is what we've got to protect against. And we are working. Ghana actually have an AI strategy.
We do?
With data protection.
Because what tends to happen is the rest of the world, something happens somewhere in the world, and then it catches on, and everybody else joins, only for now the regulation to be brought when people have already formed their habits and patterns with that activity. Do you see that happening with AI? You said there's a regulation framework, so it means we're actually putting structures in place before it takes off?
Absolutely. AI has been with us for a little bit. It's not starting now. And we've also known that, and we worked with stakeholders actually to put together a strategy for AI. As I said, EU has just released a regulation. I'm sure US will follow. We also belong to the ISO standards, so we can also look at what they have, and if there are any gaps that pertains to our jurisdiction, our market, we'll look at that and bring out guidelines to protect us. But my advice to the citizenry in general is that everything has a limitation. We should use it and use it wisely. And it's also incumbent upon us to be able to use it properly.
So we are talking about an ICT stakeholder conference on the LIs that you've mentioned. What's the program about?
Okay. So I mentioned earlier that NITA was established in 2008, and we have a primary legislation. And typically, within a year or two of that, by law, you're supposed to have a secondary legislation, which is the LI, to actually give effect to the primary legislation. NITA has been doing other things.
Why has it taken so long? 2008 is 2023.
15 years. We've been doing other things. As I said, when the world jumped on to fiber optics, it was NITA that held it in Ghana. So we have the Eastern Corridor Fiber. When the world went into data centers, the National Data Center was given to NITA. So we were running that. And other things. So, operationally, we became steeped at what we do. And we sort of neglected the mandate, which was the regulatory part of our business. So, and thanks to the Honorable Minister, my minister is Honorable Eslo Wusu-Ekufo. She actually charged us and said, no, go back to your mandate, focus on it. There's been several DGs and several ministers, but we were doing operations. But she's like, look, there's a technical partner who's supposed to do operations. So focus on the regulations. And that is what we've done. And we've been spending time to look at this thing. The bus had moved a little bit because we were not playing our role. We are now coming into our own, and we are trying to collaborate with other players. But we are saying that, you cannot do a legislation if you don't consult widely. And that is what the conference is supposed to do. We are supposed to hear from people, get opinions, let it affect what we are trying to do.
What do you expect the LI to achieve, first of all? What is it meant to change?
It will give us the operational power. Let me give you a classic example. When GRA, you haven't paid your tax, and GRA comes and put a padlock on your shop, they quote you their allies. Section this. And so we will have the operational, the law is typically broad. If you look at the NITA Act, 2008, ICT has moved on. So in fact, one of the things we will do is to actually amend the Primary Act, because the ICT terrain is not what it was in 2008. So this is what it would give us. It will clear any gray areas and allow us to actually do our job better. And it will be clear. It will be in an act.
When you say stakeholders, which categories of
we've
the
invited?
Are you talking about?
So we have our usual suspects in terms of the ICT community. They will be there. Private sector, businesses. We've invited everybody. But I'm just appealing that if you're even a student studying ICT, or you are just an ordinary citizen who is interested in ICT, please come to the Kofi Annan Center on the 5th through to 7th. Every day we start at 9 and we finish at 4:30. And we are going to let you know what we are thinking, all right? What we think the LI should be looking at. You cannot deviate from the primary. The LI, the secondary law, cannot deviate from the primary. But at least we want to expand a few things and clear some gray areas. So they should come. And their comments are important to us.
You've mentioned gray areas a few times.
Yeah.
Where are they now? What areas are gray as the law starts?
So when I say gray areas, is I don't have the act with me, but if you refer to Act 771, it's broad, it's high level, right? So when it's high level, then you now need to put in the secondary legislation to say, this, if you do this, it's that sort of clarity that the LI, the subsidiary legislation, will bring to the table. And that's why I don't mean gray as in it's confusing.
Okay.
We are breaking it down, right, from that high level position to a distilled operational type information.
And you're saying that even students of ICT can be a part of this?
It is open to anybody. We are not restricting anyone. Coming here, what we are saying, where our direction is going or where we want to go. And, we want to also hear people's opinion or feedback on this, because this thing would end up at Parliament. And one of the things is, have you consulted widely? And that's what we want to try and do.
At the end of the day, what's the vision for ICT growth in Ghana, or from the perspective, from the lenses of NITA?
Let me touch on the digital economy policy that Ghana, we are just firming it up and wrapping it up. This will replace ICT 4AD. So if you are someone who has followed the ICT policy space, and it's very interesting. We have pillars that are looking at entrepreneurships, digital skilling, education, that sort of stuff, partnership with businesses, and so on and so forth. So that, I don't have the policy document with me, but it will come out soon. That is going to change the way we look at things. Technology using cloud is also a game changer in the first place. I used to hear people say, "Oh, we don't trust cloud," but people have been using Gmail and Yahoo Mail for years. They didn't know where the machines were sitting. Okay, so for me, Ghana government has a government cloud, which basically allows any government institution who wants to deploy a system. You are now not going to worry about trying to find money for servers, all the licenses. You just come to NITA and you say, "Look, I want this compute, this storage," and off you go. So for me, that is going to change the way things are done. And I think it will just broaden the tech space. We will have young people creating applications from their bedrooms, which will help the economy if they pay their taxes, which will be monitoring that as well. So for me, I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Tech is here to stay. We must embrace it as Ghanaians. But I think we've even leapfrogged in some cases with technology. It's not always that the Western world does it and then we follow. There are some things that we are doing marvelously well in this country, and the personnel that are in charge of some of these agencies are seasoned professionals. Our own Patricia Edusei-Poku, our data protection, actually runs the Africa data protection thing. So, if they think she is capable of leading that regional group, then you must understand that it's not always doom and gloom for us in Ghana.
But how do you overcome the hesitations? How do you overcome those who don't quite trust AI, for example? People who don't quite trust the tech that's available to help them solve the problems. Because part of getting the benefits from these technologies would be to create trust in the system so that people find it worthy to use.
And I said it, we are doing a lot within the ministry. We are educating. We are letting people know that, look, this is safe, this is not safe. And I mentioned that we are in a collaborative era where regulators talk, and we can advise. If we see something, we can tell BOG that, look, this is not a good thing. They can advise us. We can advise any other regulator on the tech space as well. So for me, I think people should be confident, but they should be careful. That one day we cannot regulate. We cannot regulate against that, right? So we just have to know that the systems are there, the apps are there. We should be discerning when we are using it. Our grandmothers are using mobile money in the villages. Hitherto they were not, right? So it's the same kind of idea. Mobile money is also very dangerous right now because people are scamming people left, right, and center. But I always say, if you haven't done something or somebody calls you, don't give. If you are not sure, don't give. Cut it off. It's the same advice they've been given, and the same advice I'll give on the ICT space as well. If you are not sure, don't participate. But just look, people get into trouble when they see an email and they don't really look at the email address properly. They can flip a character here, a character there, and you are being phished or spammed. Do you see? So yeah, it comes with dangers, but I think the benefit far outweighs the dangers.
I'll take your final submission. The program that's oncoming, the ICT Stakeholder Conference on the LIs, 5th to 7th of July, Kofi Annan Center, 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. daily, you've told us.
Yes,
expectation?
I'm hoping that we will get a good turnout. I mean, our usual suspect, the industry players will come, but I also want to hear from the ordinary person on the street. Their input will go into this, and that would actually help us shape the way the LI is going to be presented. And it behooves us to also make sure we do this thing, because when we put it in front of Parliament, they'll know that we've also consulted. Yeah.
I'm glad you called on everyone to pay their taxes. Let me call on NITA, the National Information Technology Agency, to pay a TV license. I'm sure you have television sets at work. The short code is out. It's *447*333#.
As soon as I get to the office,
you will pay 60 cedis for more than one TV set for a year.
No problem.
Only.
Thank you for
5
that.
cedis a month.
When I go, I'm going to speak to my administrator.
And we will want a screenshot so that we put it on our social media.
If they haven't paid, I'll get them to pay it.
Richard, thank you so much for making time to sit with us today. Richard Otre-Fosu is the Director General of the National Information Technology Agency, NITA. They are having a program, which is the ICT Stakeholder Conference, to consult all the necessary stakeholders, you and I included, all users of ICT technologies, to come together and make input into the LI, which they'll be bringing up very shortly, every day at 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. at the Kofi Annan Center. Be a part of that program. Richard and his team will be there to assist you with any ideas. If you have concerns also about what's happening within the ICT space, you can speak to them about it. They collaborate with other agencies and institutions to also fight cyber bullying and ensure that our cybersecurity systems are enhanced. Everything to do with AI, there's something on there as well. The EU is leading the way. Other countries are following. Ghana will also soon have a public regulation that you can access to guide you as you go about AI. Key takeaway from this conversation: be confident in your use of social media and ICT technologies, but also be careful. Even though we are on a drive to digitalize the economy and to create the solutions to all our challenges in this part of the world, you should also be mindful of the risks. NITA and its partners are able to offer you some advice on that. Richard, thank you once again for making the conversation possible. Join our conversations across social media platforms, GTV Ghana everywhere. We should get to that 1 million mark by December. Also remember to pay your TV license. It's *447*333#, *447*333#. I am Thelma Taki. I'll catch you on social media perhaps, or perhaps right back here tomorrow. But the show is far from over. We'll give you some sugar to light up your Monday morning, because it's Monday. We'll be back after this break.